This isn't good conversation. We can cut this.
No, it's not.
Okay, folks. If you know what patina is, comment below.
That's gotta go. That's actually not patina. It's too much.
Honestly, fuck, that's good. Do we feel good about that closing, or?
The closing you just did? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I completely agree.
It was totally weird. Welcome. Episode 2. You could almost call this episode 1.
This is almost episode 1, and this is almost episode 2, depending on your relationship with numerics.
We are getting into the meat of the podcast. How to survive a scandal. Are we introducing that every episode? Welcome back to How to Survive a Scandal. Just trying to see how it sounds, how it feels.
Yeah.
I don't know what piece that plays in the introduction yet, but we'll get there.
We'll figure this out together, folks.
We'll figure it out. Okay, so how to survive a scandal. When we're kind of coming up with this concept and this idea, we talked about scandal and what it is, what makes a scandal, and what makes a scandal a scandal. We came up with what we are calling the anatomy of a scandal.
Ooh.
And so today we're going to talk about the anatomy of a scandal, folks. We're going to talk about what we think builds a scandal. We came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We came up with five pieces of a scandal, I guess you could say, 5 components. And we're going to go through them today. We're going to talk about them a little bit, and then maybe in more detail later.
Love that. Looking forward to that. Before we do, are we diving right into the program, or are we sharing gossip first? Just to check.
I didn't know we had gossip to share. We can do
You didn't
that.
have local gossip from the local community?
No.
Okay, so I had some gossip from the local community. I just wanted to check it out.
Okay.
Is that allowed?
Absolutely. I think we should do that. I think we should start with that. I think that should be at the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's important to open things up with some local gossip.
Okay,
Give me
great.
a second, because I have forgotten. Oh, okay. Actually, it's not that good.
You forgot the gossip?
Yeah, it's not that good, but I'll say it, and then we can decide to keep it in or not.
Okay.
I asked my boyfriend what he thought your worst character trait was.
Mine, personally?
Yeah. And I
Interesting.
wanted to ask your boyfriend what he thought my worst character trait is.
I didn't think this was gossip. I didn't think this was.
This segment?
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now?
Yeah.
I agree.
I want to hear something that's happened.
Something that's happened
Yeah. Something salacious.
this week?
Yeah, or in the last couple of weeks.
Everything that's salacious that has happened over the last couple of weeks to me is under NDA.
Okay.
I don't want to make it sound like my life is absolutely fabulous and VIP and top secret, but it kind of is. So
Okay.
why don't you share, because you're not under NDA.
Okay, let me try and think of a small scandal. Ooh, I have one.
Nice.
I heard. Okay, so here's the tiny scandal of the week. Local scandal of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some gossip about my building. And it was that apparently, I think this is like several years ago, someone in the building got busted for running a business out of their unit, and they were filming porn. And I just thought, you do not hear about this enough in your neighborhood.
We were actually talking about this the other day. Would you take a shower at the Saddle Dome? Full audience. So I think the Saddle Dome is like 16,000 people or something like that. You're like in a box or something like that. Showering. It's an everything shower. So it's going to take you a minute. You're in there for 30 minutes. full audience, for $10,000?
Probably not. And not because I feel horrified by the idea. I don't actually feel horrified by the idea.
20,000?
No.
Would you do it for 10,000 if you could cover your face?
No. It's
So
again,
no one would know it was you, and would you do it for 20,000? And you would cover your face, and no one
I would
know
do
it
it
was
for
you.
enough money to like buy myself a car or put a down payment on something.
You can't buy a car for $20,000.
No, Toby.
You can't buy a car for $20,000.
Not in this day and age.
What kind of car are you trying to drive? That's crazy. You can definitely buy a car for $20,000.
Not like not a new good car. You need it's 25 to 30 is where we're starting.
That's crazy. I would definitely take a public shower for $20,000.
20,000. Would you do it for 10?
If my face was covered, and like no one could say anything, I would do it for 10. Yeah.
What do you mean no one could say
I
anything?
don't want to hear from the audience.
Oh yeah, you can. I mean, you can take care of that yourself. You can put headphones in. You can.
Yeah, if I have headphones and like a face covering, yeah, I would do that for sure for 10,000.
Okay, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. If
Okay.
anyone, just for listeners at home, if anyone has $10,000 and a stadium full of folks, actually, you don't have to have the money. You're just selling tickets. So tickets would be like $10. Sell out the stadium.
This is making me uncomfortable.
Okay. let's move on.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the anatomy of a scandal. What we consider to be the anatomy of a scandal. I think there's many different types of scandals. But I think the scandals, the way we're thinking of them, have a few components that we've come up with that we completely made up on our own. So there's 5 components that we've talked about. I'm going to list them and then we're going to talk about them a little bit. Okay, so the components are visibility, image creation, image maintenance, a failure to meet expectations, and loss. That is what we've come up with as the anatomy of a scandal.
Yeah.
And now,
I want to break that down.
yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about what that means. So, with visibility, think about it like in order for people to care about what's happening in your life, you have to be seen in some way. Whether it's like you're on a public platform or you're noticeable to people for whatever reason. I was also thinking about this, that like sometimes people become visible because of a scandal. It's like sometimes something happens to you and then people care about your life. So it's not like you have to be visible in order for there to be a scandal.
But it's almost like you have to be visible to someone, because it's like, for example, I started listening to the Allison Mack Nexium
Can't wait to listen
podcast.
to that. Yeah.
And it's like, I care so much about Allison Mack joining a cult and the fact that it was like this crazy. I didn't know who she was before Nexium. I never heard of her. I'm like completely disinterested in her as like an actor. But like, it's so interesting to me that she was in part of this cult and like went to prison and all of this stuff because she was this well-known person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so because of the scandal, she became visible in that way, but it was like her visibility did not exist to me, but existed to the world.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But there's also some people who are literally not known, like completely invisible. You might become like, maybe some famous person has an affair with you and you're literally not visible. Like no one knows who you are. And then you become visible to the world because you're the person who had an affair with whatever, right? So, yeah, I think there's like a lot of ways you can become visible. But I think like in the way that we often think about scandal, usually that person has some kind of visibility first. If you think about it, in a more public setting, it's like people become visible because you watched them on TV or you know them from whatever. But then in a more personal context, people are also visible when they have like when they stand out a little bit. So people might notice you a little bit more if you're like, I don't know, the most attractive person in school. Then you become a little bit more notable to people, or like more popular, whatever. I
You
don't know.
might be hyper visible if you've never felt like you can enter a room anonymously.
Yes, that's a good
Or,
way of putting
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
people know you and you don't necessarily know them. Or like there's so many ways to be like visible as just like an everyday person.
Yes, exactly. So that's what we mean by visibility. And then there's image co-creation, which I think is maybe the most interesting. Image creation, which we've also talked about as image co-creation, I think is maybe the most interesting part of this, our sort of conceptualizing of scandal. This is where you kind of build this idea of who you are, and in a way that aligns with how people tend to see you. So, what's an example of this? I have a really good example of this, but I want to see where you're.
Okay, so I think at least for me, I did a lot of sussing out a situation, seeing what people saw of me, liked about me, that kind of thing, and then mirroring that back to them. So I feel like when I think about image creation or image co-creation, it's less about who do I want to be, what do I want my brand to be, and presenting that to the world, and a little bit more about people being like, oh, Tommy, I love the fact that like you don't care what other people think or something. And then I'm like, okay, I guess that's my thing, even though that's not necessarily how I feel at all. But then I'm like, okay, my thing is kind of like shameless, like boisterous in a shameless type of way. So I'm going to put that on because I know that that's something that works for other people. And so I then start building that brand and creating that image with the counsel of whoever first attributed that to me or gave me that quote unquote compliment or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like there's sort of there's the examples that are a little bit more almost literal, like brand image creation, where maybe you made your first debut on reality TV and then you see what the audience thought of you and what the majority opinion was. This person like is really funny, and so you really like play into your humor, and you come off the TV show, and then your whole thing with your socials is like a certain kind of humor, and you're getting brand deals that kind of really highlight that, and that sort of becomes that image becomes a creation of both the audience and you, and you're sort of
Right.
joining together and doing that. But then I like your example too on a personal level of sort of taking feedback from people around you about, oh, this is your thing, like this is why we like you, this is why you're such a good time, and then feeding into that. And even if that's not really how you personally feel,
Right.
sort of playing up that feature that you have. So that, I think that's really interesting. And then there's image maintenance, which is kind of the same. It's kind of a play on that. It's really like you're under the pressure of having to uphold that image. And I think for public figures, it's really tied up a lot of the time in money, and business. And so maintaining that there's a lot of pressures to do that.
Yeah. I see the difference between like image creation and image maintenance is like image creation. I see it as like the kind of thing that you do in order to portray yourself in a certain way or have people perceive you in a certain way. And then I see image maintenance as like the things that you often don't do, or like you definitely continue to do and don't do, but image maintenance, I see it as like the ways in which you hide those other
Right.
real places of your real parts of yourself
That don't fit
that don't
the
fit
image.
in
Yeah.
that image that has been negotiated.
Right. Yep. That makes sense. I think, yeah, to me, when I just think of image maintenance, that's the part that I'm like, ooh, that's
Yeah.
work. Like
Yeah.
the image creation is like kind of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's like
say
you're
it's exciting because
it's
it's
creative,
not you.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not who you are.
Yeah.
Like all of these things that people are noticing and identifying, they're not random. They are pieces of you. And so like that image creation piece, yeah, it does actually feel exciting. It's like this adventure. It's like, oh, I could be this person. Great. The image maintenance, I feel like that's the prison.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And I'm thinking, I have a really good example of this that I just thought of, that I keep thinking about Nicolandria. And I'm
Are they
like,
still together?
in theory, but
I
yes.
thought they
Yes.
were. Oh.
But I mean, I think this is the whole world's theory. A lot of people's theory. I don't think they're together. I don't think they're dating.
Let the record show that this is December 20th right now.
yeah.
Because I think this will probably come out January, maybe in February. I don't know. But yeah.
That's true. Yeah. I don't think that they are in a relationship,
think
like
they
a
ever were
romantic
in a
relationship. Pardon?
Do you think they ever were in a relationship?
I think they were exploring their like connection, their romantic connection. I don't think they've ever claimed to be committed to each other. I don't think they've ever claimed to be like in a exclusive committed relationship. But I see them as like they are in the image co-creation slash just maybe starting to enter the maintenance phase. Like they're still in the creation, I would say, but they are heading for the maintenance phase. And I think about it all the time because I'm like, they have had so much traction and they've had so many business opportunities, and they're just like, I don't know. I feel like they must be so exhausted. And I think I read something the other day where it's like they lean on each other a ton and like whatever their relationship. I feel like they genuinely have a connection, and they genuinely like really love each other and whatever. I just don't think they're like, I don't know. Anyways, dating. But I just think that's really interesting because part of image creation and image maintenance is this piece of like investment. Like people are really invested in you, and you're really invested in their investment in you. So for whatever reason, business opportunities, money, you're invested in the fact that people see you a certain way. So you are incentivized to create an image that works for them and maintain that image. So there's like this big investment piece that like down the road when a scandal actually happens that's where it gets so complicated. But I think for Nicolandria, I think about that all the time because I'm like, people are so invested, and they have to be so invested because it's so lucrative right now. And I don't know, I just think their worlds have both completely changed, as a lot of people do when they make the reality TV debut. But I just think that's so interesting.
Yeah, I think the process of, when people say this all the time, like the process of building power, wealth, whatever, versus holding on to it.
Yeah.
Like one is so fun. You're building an empire, you're building your business, or whatever. You're making money, you're doing your thing. Once you have it and the job is just to hold on to it, terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
That's like, it's so interesting because I'm like, isn't that like everything?
Yeah.
Like getting it is actually not everything, but it's creating, right? Like creating is always kind of a fun, exciting, life-giving endeavor. And then holding on to things is what traps us.
That's
and
what
I think
sucks
there's
the
like,
life out of it. Yeah.
yeah, that one when I was doing a tarot reading one time and pulled the Tower card, like that's what struck me so much, where it was like building things is not the problem.
Right.
It's our sort of attachment to them. That becomes the problem. You have to be willing to like create and let go.
That's actually really interesting under the concept of identity. Cause like, remember when I was younger, and like a lot of people when they're younger, you're trying on so many different identities, and you're like getting so inspired by like characters on TV, like whatever. And you're just like trying on all these different personalities for size. And it's like, that's actually a really fun process. But then as we grow up in terms of career, in terms of like, yes, we get to know ourselves better, but we're also like, okay, this is mine now. Let me just hold on to it. It's like,
Right.
what if we went back to that old art of just trying things on and
Trying
then letting
things
them
on.
go and
Yeah.
releasing them?
Yeah. Whoa, that's so interesting. I'm like, I didn't expect it to go down this tangent, but I'm like, yes, I think that is such a, that's the prison. I feel like no matter what context you're in, it's our inability to let things go and to not think that we have to, or our inability to, I guess not feel so possessive over things that we encounter that gave us life, that were really exciting, that we were invested in on some level, but not giving ourselves the freedom to kind of like move on from it. I think that's where we get trapped. So that's really interesting. And then I think kind of moving on from that image creation, image maintenance, I think what happens with both of those things is expectations, right? Mm-hmm. Like people are invested. People have an expectation of how you show up in the world. And then the scandal itself, in my mind, is when you fail to meet those expectations. That's sort of when the scandal happens. And we all know what a scandal looks like. I mean, it can be tiny, or it can be sort of catastrophic, or at least seemingly catastrophic. And I think after that point, there's a huge loss. Like the loss for the person who maintained the image, maybe on some level for the viewer or the...
Yeah. That's why people get so mad, though. Like, if you think about it, that's why people get so, like, for whatever it is, for whatever the scandal is, like, their concept of that person, whether it's like we saw you as this institution of a couple and you no longer being together, or you cheating or whatever, it's like so earth-shattering for the person, but there is a sense of loss for the audience, like silly as it may be.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. And then usually with that, the failure to meet expectations, audience feels some kind of a loss, and then they divest, right? They're kind of like, I'm out. Like, you're not who I thought you were. I'm not really interested to the same degree I was before. Or something is like, it's not always on a public platform like that, but something is taken from you, I guess, in that moment, whatever it may be. So I think that's kind of the shell that we're working with when we think about scandals. And I think each of those pieces are going to be interesting to talk about when we talk about any scandal in our lives or something that's going on publicly. It'll be interesting to talk about which part of that is sticking out to us. Like for me, the Nicolandria, I think about Nicolandria all the time because they're always on my feed.
For the
specifically for the, but more for the creation.
Right.
Because right now I'm like, I feel like we are telling them what they are, and they are telling us back. Like we're being like, oh my God, I love this. It's blah, blah, blah. And it's giving this and it's giving that. And like, I also saw Nick in a commercial with Sierra.
Yeah.
Is it Miller?
Yeah.
Sierra Miller from Summer House.
I saw that too.
And I thought, and they were, it was like, whatever, they were acting or whatever. And she was like the girlfriend in the little skit in the commercial, like whatever. And I just thought that was funny because I was like, oh, it's like a thing, I feel like, because for him to have a black girlfriend, like I think that's part of the narrative because people care about that. Black women care about that. Like,
right.
And I think, I'm not saying that's the only reason he got that commercial or that's the only reason they cast those two people, but I think that matters. I think that's part of the story. And I feel like a lot of what's happening is we're saying, and not to mention the fact that if you watched Love Island this season, it's like they didn't really attach themselves to one another romantically until they heard about the viewer.
They've never made a ton of sense to me romantically.
I mean, I'll tell you, I saw it on day one.
Yeah,
I saw
people
him
have been
looking
saying
at her
that,
some
and
type
like
of
the
way.
world it's 50-50 split. I've never been, I've never really got them. I never got it.
I don't know. I just think it's so interesting. Yeah. And I think that image co-creation part for them is really interesting. But of course, other pieces maybe stick out a little bit more for different scandals. Having said all that, I am introducing a little segment,
Oh.
a Do We Care segment.
Ah.
Maybe it'll be reoccurring. Maybe it won't be. I'm going to name a scandal, and you're going to tell me if you care about it.
Nice. Is this rapid fire, or am I giving context?
It's going to be
and
rapid
analysis?
fire, but then maybe we'll go back and get some clarity if something you say is really controversial.
Okay.
Okay. So, it just I feel like it's obligatory for me to start with scandal. Do you care?
Yes, deeply.
Housewives getting arrested. Do you care?
This is tricky. If I watched Housewives, yes, absolutely, but I don't, so no. But I think in and of itself, that is interesting and a scandal worth caring about. Like, I like watching rich people get arrested. I don't, yeah.
Oh, that's cruel.
No, I don't like it. I just feel that's interesting to me.
Okay. Sydney Sweeney, everything that's going on with her right now.
No.
Ozempic scandal. Like people being like, oh, this person's on Ozempic.
I don't care. That one's tricky, actually. I kind of care.
You got to pick one. Pick a lane.
There's so many parts of the conversation I really don't care about. There's some I kind of care about.
Okay, so those are your rapid fire answers. Yeah. Is there any that you want to provide clarity on because you worry about how your answers may be received?
Okay, let me provide some clarity on... No, let me provide some clarity on Sydney real quick.
Okay.
I think everyone has to stop talking about Sydney. I think it's really important. And it's not...
Starting with you.
I'm not trying to protect her. I'm not trying to hate on her. I just don't care. I think she's... And this is going to make me sound like a hater to be like, I think she's so deeply uninteresting. Because that's like crazy to say that I know nothing about her. But like even her scandals are uninteresting. Even her scandals are dry. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm always just like, why are people so like surprised when like basic, boring, uninteresting people, I'm not even calling Sydney Sweeney basic, boring, and uninteresting, but like basic, boring, and uninteresting people present basic, boring, and uninteresting ideas and don't particularly have like a strong sense of conviction around what you have a strong sense of conviction around. I'm just like,
right.
Grow up. Anyway, but no, any more the Ozempic one, I'm gonna need a full. I could do a tight 30 on Ozempic.
Okay.
In general, my consensus is that people need to stop speculating who is and is not on Ozempic. I think that's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And I think that piece of like, it's Ozempic, it's not Ozempic. Ozempic doesn't give you abs. Oh, yeah, is that like, that piece is insane. I'm like, that's a conversation like not worth having. It doesn't matter and it's so boring. I think people feeling strongly about Ozempic is fine. I don't, but I think people I think it's so fine. And I actually had a moment where I caught myself because someone who I perceive as like, why the fuck are you on Ozempic? Mentioned being on a GLP-1 and I like had a reaction. And I was like, why do I care about this? But I was like...
Do you mean someone who, like a thin person?
Yeah.
Okay. And you felt what about that?
I felt like it's insane that you feel like...
And they were on it for weight loss specifically?
And that's the thing I had to circle back and was like, I might have just made this up.
Okay.
But my perception of how they said it and how they talked about it was that they were on it for weight loss. Mm-hmm. And they have talked about weight loss before as like a very small person. They have like mentioned it before.
Interesting.
And then this is like a very public figure. And then they mentioned it.
Protecting them.
Yeah, I was just
on this podcast.
them and their privacy. I also we'd love to have them on the show.
So we want to maintain that relationship.
Yeah, Monica Padman, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on.
Monica Padman?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. And if you
Okay.
look at some of her, you'll notice it, and then you're kind of like, what the fuck? So that kind of pissed me right off. And then I was like, why do I have to care about this? This is crazy. Again, my narrative self has no opinion on this, but I felt some type of way. So I was like, okay, clearly I do care about that. That's fine. I'm not going to run from the fact that I care about it. But yeah.
I think there's this weird thing that happens when it comes to like conversations about people's bodies, because we're talking about like fat phobia, which is something that like is systemic and is a form of oppression and impacts us all. But then we're also mindful of the fact that like people's bodies are none of our business. Like it's, what someone chooses to do with their body is not for me to talk about. But I think there's this weird, for me anyways, personally, there's this weird thing where I'm like, I don't really care what you choose to do with your body, and I shouldn't care. Actually, I shouldn't even say I don't care. I do care sometimes. Like sometimes I am like, that's weird that you're doing that, whatever. But I shouldn't. Like it's not my business. But I think it's just so tricky because so much of the time we're talking about public figures who play an important role in like shaping culture. And so you kind of do hold them to this standard of like, I don't know, acting in a way that doesn't perpetuate fat phobia. I do. Right. But I don't know. It's not really, it's probably like people are like, that's not really fair to do, which I think, I don't know whether that's fair is neither here nor there to me. I don't really know, but certainly I do it.
Yeah.
And that sort of translates to me judging what they do with their own bodies, which is really kind of weird and kind of like not something I ever want to be doing.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you separate that from the conversation of like the systemic nature of fat phobia when people are very influential? I don't know. That's definitely a tangent.
Okay, so you know what? Final answer. Yes.
You care.
I do care.
Okay.
I care about the global GLP-1 conversation.
Okay.
Justin and Katie. Justin Trudeau, Katy Perry.
I wouldn't consider that a scandal.
But do you care about them as well?
No. I mean, I care. Like, I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy and funny. But I don't really care. Like, I don't care what they do next. I'm not following that story.
How do you feel about the promotion of GLP-1s? Like, how do you feel about sponsorships and like that kind of thing? Like, how do you feel about Serena Williams and like Cam? I don't know if Cam is doing like sponsored stuff, but like Cam from the Challenge, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, like, again, people should do what they... Oh, I know what I was going to say. Okay, people should do what they want with their bodies. It's just, I don't know, it gets complicated when you're like, hey, here's how you can lose weight. Like, for other people. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, let other people figure it out. But at the same time, I don't know, some people have no access to, like, important aspects of their healthcare, and they wouldn't know unless someone told them. So I don't know. I'm certainly not trying to make a call about it. I'm not trying to say like it should be this way or it shouldn't be this way. I don't love it. I don't like it. When I see it, it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel weird. I don't really like it. But again, people should do what they want with their bodies. What I was going to say is that, like, generally speaking, being like this, it comes out that this person is on Ozempic. I don't really care about that.
Yes.
Like,
agreed.
I'm like, I don't care if you, whatever, do whatever you want.
Agreed.
I care. And this is what I found really interesting. There was this big scandal of a TikTok star who was like on this big weight loss journey and had
Remy
all
or
these
whatever?
followers. maybe. I don't remember.
Okay.
Had all these followers and was basically like, I ate these foods and this is how I look. And everyone was like, are you on a GLP-1? And for like a year, she denied it. And then, like maybe a few months ago, was like, yes, I am. That I care about.
Yeah,
Because
that's
that
insane.
I'm like, that is
wild.
crazy. You are a liar. But again, gets very complicated because then it's like, I don't want to be caring about what somebody does with their body. I don't want to be in that level of someone's personal business. Anyways.
It's giving Legally Blonde. And she's defending that.
Oh, yeah. So true.
I used to think that was so scandalous as a kid.
I was kidding. Liposuction.
Yeah, that moment was iconic. I was like, ooh, dark.
Yeah. Anyways, I didn't think we would end on the note of fat phobia, but here we are.
All roads lead back to it.
I mean, all roads lead back to like every form of oppression, unfortunately. Well, that's all I have for our Anatomy of a Scandal episode.
Wow.
We hope you've enjoyed.
So to recap, we are going to spend some time talking about visibility, image creation, image maintenance, expectations, and failure to meet said expectations, and then the loss that comes from it. Can you survive a scandal? Well, of course you can survive a scandal because we're talking about how to do that. Can you survive a scandal? Yes. Can you survive the ick? TBD.
Wow.
Do you think
Is the ick a scandal?
No, absolutely not.
Can it be?
No.
I think getting the ick can be a scandal.
No,
if you're Nicolandria and then Alandria gets the ick from Nick, you think that can't be a scandal?
No, it's like saying having a oh, never mind. I just proved my own point. I was gonna say it's like saying is having a baby a scandal because those people have babies every day, but yeah, actually having a baby can absolutely be a scandal.
Yeah, we're landing on having the ick can be a scandal.
Real quick, do you think you can survive the ick?
Absolutely. I think every woman gets the ick at some point in their relationship.
And they stay in that relationship.
Well, I think if you're in a relationship for a long-term relationship, you've had the ick.
I'm not talking about an ick. I'm talking about the ick. There's a difference between
I think everyone's had the ick.
I don't think I've ever had the ick and then survived that relationship.
Well, I mean,
I've had icks and an ick, but when every time I get the ick, it's over.
No, that's not true. And I don't want to blow up your spot here, but it's not true. It's not true. And I'm sure we'll unpack that in a later episode too. We'll have an episode called The Ick. How to survive the ick.
Episode 3. How to survive the ick.
I look forward to it.
We can get into the anatomy of a scandal later. This is far more pressing. For the folks at home, comment below. Write in with your stories of the last time you got the ick, how you survived it, questions, comments, concerns, advice, that type of thing. We will do a how to survive the ick episode.
Absolutely. We have to.
It's really important. And we're going to need to hear from you folks.
Definitely.
That's really important.
Yeah, we want to hear from you in general. We want to hear about your icks. We want to hear about your gossip. That's something we were talking about. Could we be so bold as to ask for some gossip stories that we can, local scandal, if you will, that we can share at the beginning of each episode? I think that would be so fun.
Yeah, we really want to kick things off with local gossip, whether that be local in the home, like domestic gossip, whether that be local in the city where we live and play. Applications are open for national and international gossip, but we do love local gossip.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
That about does it. Thank you for joining us for this episode of How to Survive a Scandal.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, folks.